Hello, everyone. Happy Friday and welcome to week 7 of English 120. This week, you're going to begin by watching this lecture. Yay! Then you're going to continue to work in your research groups. Good job kicking off your research groups. I think just one group did not post their sources. Please make sure you do so. This is where you are going to be sharing information. This week, you're going to continue to conduct research at the NVC library, and you're going to complete um, a, a discussion. You're going to add to the current discussion, and this one will be on revising each other's annotations, and I'll talk more about that later in the lecture. We're going to continue to read Whose Names Are Unknown, our book for this class by Sonora Bab. And at our English 95 live session on Monday, we'll meet at 6 p.m. as usual to discuss the novel, and then I'll post the assignment after the discussion. You'll be reading in the Bedford Researcher, selections from chapter 4 and 5. This is all about working with sources, which is what we're working on this week. You're going to complete learning module source credibility and validity, and then take the research quiz. And then you will turn in your annotated bibliography, the assignment I introduced to you last week. So if you want detailed explanations about what's expected of you, and this is a very technical assignment, you guys, so please make sure you do review the assignment. I go over it in last week's lecture, so you can go back to that to review it if you need to. So let's talk a little bit about chapter 4 of the Bedford Researcher. One of the things you're thinking about this week is how to read your sources critically. One thing you can do is you can read with attitude. So you want to start reading these articles or books with curiosity. So think about what is the conversation that you're joining, who are the main people talking, then move toward questioning. Do these sources answer the research question that I've created? Then you can read more skeptically, like where you can figure out if you agree or you disagree with the source. Don't ever accept anything at face value, and make sure that you ask questions while you're reading these sources. Look for similarities and differences between your sources, and examine the implications of what you read for your research project. Be on alert for unusual information and always note relevant sources and information. Remember, take notes. Keep track of all the sources that you find. And always be open to new ideas. It may be that while you're reading, you find something that changes the way that you think about your topic. And that's okay, right? And if you find a source that you like, don't just read it one time. Read it several times so you really know the content and you can use it when you write your paper. So this week in our research project, you will be turning in your annotated bibliography. Hopefully, you already have done some work finding your sources. We talked about it last week. Hopefully, you talked about it in your research groups. So now you actually need to develop your own annotated bibliography. It's going to be an MLA format, Times New Roman 12-point font. In your annotated bibliography, you'll provide 6 annotations, so 6 citations for your sources, and then annotations that describe, that provide a brief, usually about 150 words, description and an evaluation of your source. And the purpose of this annotation is to inform the reader of the relevance, accuracy, and quality of the sources that are cited. There is a detailed explanation in the actual assignment for you to go over in case you have questions about what is expected of you. I have a sample annotation here. that gives you a cited article from the American Sociological Review and a sample and annotation. It begins by telling us about the authors. It gives us information about who they are. They're researchers at the Rand Corporation and Brown University. So that gives them authority over the topic. And it talks about how what's talked about and what research is used to talk about this information. So they use data from the national longitudinal surveys of young women and young men to test their hypothesis that non-family living by young adults alters their attitudes, values, plans, and expectations, moving them away from their belief in traditional sex roles. And so that is the what the thesis is of this document that we're citing here. Okay, that's the annotation tells us what the thesis of this paper is. Increasing the time away from parents before marrying increased individualism, self-sufficiency, and changes in attitudes about families. Now so that's all summary, right? That's all summary about the source. Then we hear about how this source relates to other sources in the annotated bibliography. So this is referring to another source. In contrast, an earlier study by Williams, cited below, shows no significant gender differences in sex role attitudes as a result of non-family living. Notice this is a concise summary. This annotation talks about who the author is, what the paper was about, what sources were used to prove the hypothesis or the thesis in the paper, and how this relates to other sources that have been evaluated. This is what you need to do for each of your annotations. Remember to pay a lot of attention to your citation. That's the address of the source. We've talked about this last week. Make sure you spend a lot of time on them. You will lose points for not putting your citations correctly. So if you have any questions, make sure you reach out to me, okay? So before you turn that in, though, we are going to be doing some work on those annotations. You have your research group, okay? So by this Sunday, you want to draft at least one of your annotations for your annotated bibliography, and you're going to post a citation for that source and an annotation in your discussion forum within your research group. You are going to then respond to all of your research group members' annotations by giving them feedback and revision strategies by Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. You are more than welcome to workshop more than one annotation together. One annotation is the minimum. So please don't forget to do your research group work this week. So for our research unit this week, we are going to be working on evaluating the credibility and appropriateness of sources. And the goal of this is to introduce criteria for deciding whether a source is suitable for your research purposes. This is a skill that we're going to need for the rest of the semester. So you're going to read the parts of Chapter 5 on evaluating sources. That's in the Bedford Researcher. Then you're going to look at the CRAP test, yes, CRAP, from CSU Chico and use it on your sources. Then you're going to watch the video, Reading Critically. It talks about how as a student writer you need to read critically. And then you'll take that research quiz at the end. That's very important. Remember, it's 20% of your grade. And it's due by Thursday at 11:59 p.m. Finally, we will be meeting to talk about whose names are unknown. Again, you need to read chapters 6 through 10 in our book before our class on Monday night. I hope everyone hears me. Please actively read chapters 6 to 10, that's pages 30 through 61, and whose names are unknown before class on Monday. We're going to be working in groups to answer discussion questions if everyone comes prepared. Last week, we only had 9 out of all of you guys, which is around 44 students. That's both my classes combined. So please come to this class if possible. I know some of you cannot, but if you can, don't skip it. It's not only fun, but you also get to do your work live. So you have less homework and you get to meet your classmates. So it's actually super fun. All right? So please make sure you schedule that time 6 p.m. on Monday. It's always the same Zoom link. And it's the same exact Zoom link as the one that you use for my office hours. All right, that's it for this week. It's a short lecture. Go ahead and get started on this week's work and let me know if you have questions. I am only an email away.